Hi, I'm Matt Mehalik. I am the Executive Director of the Breathe Project and adjunct faculty at Heinz College, Carnegie Mellon University. Thank you, Chair Boscola, and distinguished members of the Pennsylvania Senate and House for holding this hearing. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you about the ongoing community impacts and air quality impacts following the explosion at U.S. Steel's Clairton Coke Works on Christmas Eve of 2018. In Allegheny County, we should feel confident knowing that the air that we breathe will not make us sick or cause cancer, asthma, or other diseases. We have the right to live and work in clean, safe, and healthy environments. I would also encourage, just like Rachel just said, to have conversations with the many people who are in the back room that are not visible once again here today. Make sure that you speak with them, hear their voices. I can't speak for them, but I can stand with them, and I hope that you all will reach out and make sure that you're listening to what they have to say. I also encourage each person here to go and observe the Peachtree Flare from the top of 5th Street in Glassport to hear the constant jet engine-like sound and smell of undesulfurized coking gas that is spewing from the jets into the open air 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And to know what it's like to live in proximity to these ports. It's located above the valley in a football-sized, scorched area that looks like a place out of Mordor from Lord of the Rings. Even before this explosion at the U.S. Steel Clairton Coke Works, our region has been suffering from some of the worst air pollution in the United States. Allegheny County is designated as a non-attainment area for fine particulates, particulate matter PM 2.5, sulfur dioxide, and that means it's out of compliance with the Clean Air Act even before this most recent incident in Clairton. Allegheny County failed to submit its plan for attainment of PM 2.5 under the National Air Quality Ambient Standards by the deadline of April 15th, 2015. And the county still hasn't met that deadline, and it's 2 years after the final deadline of October 15th, 2016. And we're called out in the Federal Register as one of a few places that haven't met that capability. In 2017, the latest qualified data that we have, air quality in Allegheny County was considered not good for 203 days. That's more than 55% of the time. And that builds off of the 189 not good air days in 2016. The Liberty Monitor, the monitor in closest proximity to the Clairton Coke Works, has been showing increases in annual PM 2.5 emissions for the past several years, most likely explained by degraded compliance by Coke Works. This negative trend has occurred despite air improvements upwind from other states and elsewhere in Allegheny County. If you look at Figure 1 in your packet, it shows monitors that surround Allegheny County getting cleaner, and you see the Liberty Monitor getting worse. The Clairton Coke Works has been causing air pollution problems for a long time. In a citizen 60-day notice to sue Clairton in 2016, Penn Future documented that Coke Works had over 6,700 air pollution violations between January 1st, 2012 and May 31st, 2015. That's an average of polluting over 5 times a day, every day, for nearly 3.5 years. And people have already talked about the health department's enforcement order in June of 2018 and then again in October of 2018 with fines of $1 million and over $600,000. Pollution from the Clairton Coke Works affects a large number of people, particularly a large number of low-income, elderly, and African-American people. According to environmental justice statistics from the US EPA's EJ Screen tool, approximately 130,000 people live within a 5-mile radius of the Coke Works. People in this area have air that's worse than 91% of the entire country for particulate matter. 1/3 of the people living in this area have low income. 36% of people in this area are minority population, primarily African American. And 1/5 of the people living in this area are older than 64 years old. Now, following the January 9th meeting with the health department, there still are many questions about what happened. And so some of these questions are, what were the reasons that it took over 2 weeks to report this incident and communicate that the coke works was operating without pollution control equipment to remove sulfur from coke gas emissions? Was the Allegheny County Fire Marshal ever called to investigate this incident, which was much more than a mere fire? What are the reasons that we're all relying upon a contractor that U.S. Steel has hired to investigate this incident rather than having an independent party or government entity look into the matter? What was the cause of the incident in the first place? What are the reasons that residents of Allegheny County are subjected to an order to limit outdoor activity while U.S. Steel continues to produce coke in a facility without pollution control equipment that is required by the Coke Works Title V permit, which we even heard it here today, they admit they're out of compliance with their Title V permit. ACHD has been issuing Allegheny alerts daily, tracking whether or not SO2 exceedances have occurred. It needs to be pointed out that SO2 exceedances are not markers of whether U.S. Steel is somehow conforming to the standards of the Clean Air Act. These announcements mean that Allegheny County and the state of Pennsylvania are out of compliance with the Clean Air Act for sulfur dioxide, not U.S. Steel. The SO2 exceedances that did occur mean that our regional government is not doing its job to protect the health of county residents by meeting federal air quality requirements. The legal mechanism that enables states, in our case, Allegheny County, to hold companies and facilities accountable is each facility's Title V permit. And if you look at U.S. Steel's Claret and Coke Works Title V permit, there is clear language in the permit that requires U.S. Steel to operate a desulfurization unit, specifically to remove sulfur compounds such as hydrogen sulfide and sulfur dioxide from coking gas before it can be used or flared. And I produced that language in your packet so that you can read it for yourself, but it's as plain as day. I'm not going to read it all. What this means is that ACHD, the regulator responsible for holding facilities and companies accountable to legal requirements to protect the region's health and air quality, needs to exercise its authority to protect the health of Mon Valley and Allegheny County residents. And I've produced some pictures from the Smell Pittsburgh app on the dates, figures 3, 4, and 5, February 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. That document the large number of complaints. And on figure 5, which is mislabeled, that's actually February 4th, there were 359 Smell Pittsburgh complaints that day. That's more than 2 times the count on any previous day except for February 3rd, where there were 207 complaints on that day. And so we've also heard from the health department just this week issuing a statement that foregrounded weather as the explanation for these high readings. Let's be clear, the weather doesn't create pollution. Uncontrolled facilities that generate pollution are the source of the pollution and it gets amplified under certain weather conditions. Let's also be clear, the wind is not a control strategy for pollution for protecting public health. So what are people calling for? And first of all, we'd like to see an independent investigation of what caused the fire and explosion in the plant. And absent any reasonable control strategy, which I was hoping to hear something new today, but we haven't heard that actually complies with the plant's Title V permit, ACHD should order the Coke Works to implement a hide idle solution, or a hide idle situation. ACHD needs to stop treating this situation like an episodic pollution event resulting in isolated emissions violations rather than the systemic situation that it is. And it results in continuous emissions of sulfur dioxide pollution without an acceptable specified health protective plan or endpoint. Now, we want to be clear that hot idle is not the same as shutting the plant down. It just means that coal's not being baked and generating coking gas. The ovens still remain hot. It's still possible to bring those batteries back up online because the facility has done it in the past. U.S. Steel can afford to fix these problems. U.S. Steel posted full year 2018 net earnings of over $1.1 billion and earnings before income and taxes of $1.76 billion. The flaring of undesulfurized coking gas in the atmosphere is not only a problem from the perspective of public health and the community in the immediate term. It's a problem for future generations, for the climate change pollution that the plant also generates. We must find less impactful ways to meet the needs of our society without creating the damage that comes from operating a plant in the way that the Clairton Coke Works operates. I believe that innovation and creativity should become the bedrock of our regional economy, not 19th century production and pollution control band-aids. And I just want to end up by saying, I'm the fourth generation in this country. All three prior generations were steel workers. My family worked at the Edgar Thomson Steel Works, and one of the reasons why I'm able to be here today is because the union protect my family members. They stood up for when my father, who built the refractory ovens that are used in many of these steel plants, by mixing refractory by hand, and he would break out from rashes and chemicals. The union stood up to protect him. That's why I'm here today. That's why I do the work that I do. It's possible to work together and not go back to doing ways that are not moving things forward to protect people's health. So I want to thank you all for this hearing. I think we can all come together for a solution. Innovation is the key, and I look forward to more dialogue on that. Thank you very much.
Ashley.